we're doing. Good morning, everybody. I'll just pull my chat where I can see it. There we go. We'll go for Beauty Light today. Hello, Angus. Hi, Tube Stormer. How we doing? All good, I hope. Hi, Steve. That reminds me. How are you doing? Greetings from LA. Wonderful. There we go. There's Angus. There's Tube Stormer. Steve from LA. WC. Good morning from Canada. Probably don't know what the weather's like there. Cold as usual in the basement here. But yes, very good. Right, so we've got to work out what we want to do today. This is the thing, because it's a studio session. I haven't anything planned. I do have both Nunchuck, the new plugin from Polychrome, which actually I was doing presets for a while ago. So I've been using that a while, very excited about it. It's not fully in my set yet. In fact, it's not in it at all yet, but it will be very, very soon, because it is the go-to at the minute. So I've got that, so we can geek out today. It's Friday, you know. We can go shopping. We can look at equipment. The other thing, for you studio nerds out there, also FabFilter have released Pro Q4, and as a FabFilter fan, which I have been forever, I immediately got the upgrade. So I actually have that. What are the traits of a good private guitar instructor? Oh, that's a good question, isn't it? That's heavy. What are the good traits of a good... Well, somebody who listens, somebody who understands what the client is trying to achieve. So I'm trained as a music coach, actually trained as a teacher as well. So basically, I think rather than, because there's a number of different ways you can learn to play an instrument, isn't it? It's going through the graded system where basically you're learning to read music, you learn to play pieces. I mean, that's cool, isn't it? But the one thing is you're just learning to read and play, and to a certain degree, on its most creative side, to reinterpret a piece of music in accordance to an examination that is going to happen. Which is fine. That is a part. I did all of that. And it was a part of learning. But if I reflect back, if I had my time again, all right, possibly that isn't the way that I would go. I always go for people using music as a metaphor of expression of how they're feeling. That is the most important thing, because ultimately when you're playing music, right, if you're going to be a professional musician and you're going to be an artist, okay, which is the most important thing, you're going to have to deal with uncertainty. And the one thing that is certain is who we are and the emotions that we're having and how we can express those emotions. So a teacher should be teaching you music as if it's a language, okay, and not suppressing a learner's creativity at all. It should all be taken on board. Having said that, a good music teacher should be teaching you the rudiments, okay? You should be learning all of your sort of modal scales and all that sort of thing, and improvisation, as well as learning, I suppose, pieces of music, if you're a fairly beginner. So these are all the attributes, I would say. But I think the main thing is that, he is supporting your interest, and also understanding is how that is going to work in terms of the way that you're going to connect with the world as a musician who's going to offer something unique. Does that make sense? Is that a good answer for a private instructor? Because I mean, the other answer, that's the other answer is a private instructor or teacher is somebody who meets the standards of an education system, which it's a bit boring, that isn't it? The standardization of everything, which means there is certainty. But the real music world out there it's the Wild West. It's crazy. There's AI, there's robots trying to bump us off. There's Spotify killing our royalties. Yeah, there's huge competition from Instagrammers who play amazing 50-second solos. There's all of this stuff happening that you're competing against. You've got to find your own niche, haven't you? So a good teacher's going to help you find that. And that would be a really good teacher. Would your live rig be quite different from what you use in the streams? No, my live rig is what I use in the streams, believe it or not. So me and Thomas, a year or so ago, we did do a private party gig. And we took one laptop with us, two of these. This is the Live Logic. And we played a gig, the two of us, one laptop. We didn't even really bother sound checking. We just plugged in, jing, strummed a few chords, and that's it. We're ready. Thumbs up to the DJ. Stop the music. We're going. And off we went. And that was my live rig. My instructor always asked me what I want to learn instead of him telling himself what I needed to learn. Is that a good thing? I felt like I am stuck. Right, okay, so if there are fundamental things, right, gaps in your knowledge, fundamental mechanical things that you have to learn, then that instructor is going to have to say, you need to do these things. But you can do it in a fun way that supports your creativity and what you're interested in. So that's the thing. I mean, that's the balancing act, isn't it? So your instructor is always asking me what I want to learn, instead of him telling himself what I need to learn. So I think it's good, that you take. I mean, I think it's really good that you sort of, in a way, taking control of the session, but if it over dominates the instructor and then he's just going with that's not good, because fundamentally there are skills that you need to have. So, for example, on the lessons I have that I'll do, I'll get people who've been playing a lot of years who have just hit the wall with the technique and they can't progress it any further. And I've literally got to go in like an engineer and assess where the problems are mechanically with them, physically, and then start showing them a way to improve and to overcome the problems. So that's another sort of aspect. So, if there are certain, like I just can't play fast, I can't do these things, I can't inside pick, then that would be down to the teacher having that knowledge of how to assess that problem and then how to overcome it. But that's a lot more specific now, so I understand sort of what it is you're trying to do. So what you need to learn, yes. Now, it's funny enough that I do the odd occasional guitar lesson. So, I'm interested to know, what do you think your main challenges, your main problems on guitar are? Dorioteo, I should say. What do you think your number one issues are with your guitar playing? I'd like to know. And I might even be able to come up with a solution now that you can take to your teacher. And if you're stuck with that, you could always come for a lesson with me and I'll put you on the right road. Right, Steve. Back when you used to record guitar cabs, what was your favourite microphone and combination? I don't know. I used to just go to the studio and not show any interest. All of my guitar recording for I don't know how long since the 2000 has all been done in the house, and it was either a Line 6 pod or a pod rack, and then moving to various guitar software. So I've been in the box for so long, like such a long time. I can't remember. So I don't. I don't have an amp collection. I don't have like hardware mics. I don't do any of that because fundamentally I'm a bit lazy when it comes to that. I just want to plug in, get the sound up that I want to sound. Software like modeling is amazing. I mean, the Polychrome we can have a look at that today. The Polychrome Nunchuck has come out. All right, Polychrome DSP, absolutely amazing. They've got the new plugin that's come out, and it's like really good. You don't need. If you're recording, you would never know whether I used a real amp or not. This is why you enjoy listening to me and Thomas. Oh, that's nice. What type of guitars did you play prior to Kiesel? I had a Strat which I sold, and Ibanez, because I was shredder. So I used like an Ibanez, didn't I? There you go. Right. What's this one? I'm trying a new instructor tomorrow, so hopefully it's a better fit for my main challenge. Is improvisation. Is improvisation learning how to solo over backing track? I know the minor pentatonic scale and modes, right? Okay, so that's fine. So just before you go to, because this is interesting, so it'd be great if you could share what the problems are around that. So, and I think this would also help you for when you go to your instructor, Dorito, can you be specific of what the problem is when you're soloing over backing tracks? Can you describe what it is? So, what's the backing track? What key is it in? What style? What genre? What is your approach? Right. So this is right. So when I solo, I feel like I play at the same tempo and sound repetitive. All right. So this is a little bit different from what you would probably get from an instructor. So obviously I'm trained as a coach. So the first thing I pick up on is that I feel, right? So when anybody says I feel, and this is like super interesting, by the way, I'm so glad that you're on the live today, because this is going to be this should be quite an interesting discussion. Whenever we say I feel, it's an internal thing, isn't it? It's an internal review of ourselves. But how do we know that that is the actual truth? How do we know that that's what is happening? The only way to find out what's happening is to actually record yourself and listen back and to review that way. So when I'm playing lives and I'm playing, I listen back to myself and I review what I'm doing, my progress, because I know that that is what exists, So you're always focusing on what exists and not focusing on as much as what doesn't exist in this scenario. I think there is certain things that in that feeling thing. So like after I do a live, I do a review, wins, problems and opportunities. And that is a review of one's performance, but not necessarily a view of the music. So there'll be some confusion between your feeling and the actual feelings that you're playing. And this is a good example, I think, of that, getting those two things getting confused. The expression of your emotion through your music, and then the actual feelings and emotions that you're having taking part in that activity. And sounding repetitive. Now, often I think I'm playing the same thing here. And it's okay to be repetitive, but I think, I'm really going on, and I'll listen back to the lives, and that isn't a thing. It's not like I think, well, it's not that repetitive. So I wouldn't worry about too much about that. I mean, there's lots of players who have styles that are when they're playing, it's always the same thing. It can be, a style thing. But we can take it, that is a truth, that basically, rather than a feeling. So if we take feeling out, you're left with I play the same tempo and sound repetitive. When if we describe something in enough detail, all right, we come up with the solutions. And actually, Dorito, you've come up with the solution, haven't you? If you're saying I play the same tempo and sound repetitive, all right, what's the positive opposite of that? the positive opposite is, right, okay, I can play in different tempos, and I play a variety of different musical phrases. So there is the solution, isn't it? Now, what you could do is you could brainstorm lots of different tempos. So you could think of like, well, what genre do I like? And like, what is the various tempos that'll happen in that genre? So like synthwave is a great one. You can be anything from like vaporwave, synthwave. You can be anything from 70 BPM all the way up to 140, 160. It can get up like it's all the tempos, isn't it? So in terms of changing the tempo, all you do is like find a backing track in a different tempo, different keys will kind of push you to play slightly differently as well. And as far as the sounding repetitive, this is a really good one as well. Sounding repetitive is just don't be repetitive. Build your vocabulary. Easier said than done. So I'm not going to leave it like that. I'm going to give you an idea. All right. I remember when sort of like the guy like Mike Monday who coached me, he started this mastery class, and actually I was going to join it as a coachee, believe it or not. And he was like, actually, no, Tim, I need you to coach on it. I was like, what? It's a new program, mastery. But it was brilliant. So I ended up like coaching on this thing whilst actually doing the thing myself. And it was it was really good. And I learned such a lot. And one of the things we were talking about was not being repetitive, and how do you do that? Because it's very difficult to just think of like not being repetitive, and how do I do that? So you must have like, how can we get a good starting point, a good foundation, a good platform to spring off, right? That isn't going to completely undo our style that already exists and send us on a crazy mission, but something we can do where we can test and try out and build upon straight away. And one of the ways you can do this is you can take the things, because we've all been here, that are repetitive, that annoy you. So have a look and make a list of all the things that you play. Like I'll have certain things that I do all the time, and I think, oh, why did I do that? Why is that always coming out? When you're on autopilot, muscle memory kicks, and you're like, why am I playing that? No, what did I do that for? But these licks are in muscle memory. These particular things that we play, the things that you play that are repetitive, in the past was something that you liked to play. It was something that had more value than it has now, that you like the sound of, and you've gone, oh, this is good, I'll just play this, repetitively, and then it's like you get sick of it. Take that idea, right? Take the idea of how it is, and then brainstorm as many different ways of how you can develop that idea, how you can expand that idea, how you can resequence those ideas. Okay, I say idea, but it's ideas, because you'll have multiple of them. So taking an arpeggio, you might be going up and down every time you hit an A minor arpeggio. Can you extend it? Can we make it into 9s? Can we make it into 11s and 13s? Can we play it as if it's a scale? Can we improvise on that now we've expanded it? Can we move it diatonically through sequences? If you're playing pentatonic scales, are the sequences of notes or phrases of notes you can move up and down octaves? Can you move them diatonically within the scale? Is there a modal lick that you're playing that you can move up and down diatonically and come up with different variations? Okay, can you mathematically come up with different combinations? So these are all the things that I would think about. Now, when you're doing that, at least you're taking your initial idea, okay, and you're learning a very vital skill of how to expand on that, using it as a platform. So that's great learning. And then, because it's good for your teacher, because like if you go to your teacher and you've got something very specific, it's very easy for them to then go, bang, this is what it is and this is what you should do, and then help you solve the problem. So, fan of David Deutsch, the physicist, philosopher, he believes knowledge, right, is more expansive than the universe, right? And the only way we create new knowledge is through solving problems. So this is a great problem that you've got to solve that's going to lead to lots of other even better problems. Because if you can crack this problem yourself or be prepared and have a little bit of help from a teacher, it's going to put you in, much better standing as as that musician who is proactive, a sovereign individual who has got creative ideas, I mean, at the end of the day, Alan Holdsworth sort of must have made himself, he had these skills dialed in and he could use them and adapt and use those skills to explore other really complex harmonic ideas, couldn't he? But these are the problems that when he first started, he would have been solving. Hard rock or it doesn't, any genre. Music's just music. It's all the same notes. I have a video on YouTube, right? Steve, what would you describe are the essential elements to make a great guitar solo? The essential thing? Well, I mean, you've got to have rhythm, right? You've got to have your timing. I mean, you've got to have a melody. Okay, so something melodic. And then the other thing is, I think it's really good to deliver. The thing I always try and do is I try to deliver the listener's expectations unexpectedly. Okay, delivering the listener's expectations unexpectedly. That's what I like to do. That's what I try and achieve in my solos. And what does that mean? Well, it means lots of weird things, and these are the sort of things that you, Dorito, may want to look into. So you just, I mean, at the end of the day, it's science music, isn't it? It's just your experiment. You're coming up with an idea, and you're thinking, right, is this going to work? And then you plan for it, and then you do a bit and see what happens. So for me, it was like, right, well. Hold on. Where am I? Oh, there we go. So, I think of a good example. Can I think of a good example? Yes, I can. Pentatonic scales are fairly something that we all have an expectation of, don't we? We're so familiar with that sound, and there's a reason for that. It's a law of nature, the pentatonic scale. So if you watch Leonard Bernstein Harvard lectures from the 70s, the first sort of episode, he talks about this. He talks about harmonic series. So it's almost, the pentatonic scale is almost built into our DNA. It's certainly a law of nature, whereas when we play one note, although we think we perceive it as one note, when you look on a spectrum analyzer, it's a series of notes. You have like all these other harmonics that are like an octave and a fifth and a third, and then you have this weird one. The fourth one is a quarter tone, but pretty much the notes of the pentatonic scale are there. And apparently, it's in our language, it's in modulations. Everybody kind of has this scale in culture. So as human beings, it's a very natural thing that we're programmed with, okay? So there's a certain expectation, isn't there? So apparently, Leonard Bernstein had a linguistics expert analysing this, and apparently children across the world use that modulation, and that's from harmonic series. So it's something that everybody is super familiar with, right? And then what we're thinking about is how can we deliver those expectations. So they've got a slight framework of their reference, but like it is slightly skewed a little bit. So we can think of different ways to sequence notes, right? So one of the things I really like to do is to create limitations for myself. So the perception of what is actually happening here is slightly distorted. So one of them is, I'm always going on about 3-1-3 pentatonic scales. But what it is it's a really interesting limitation of notes that you can resequence the scale in other sort of quite non-traditional ways. So the phrasing, the first bit of it, before I went to the 2 notes per string, that phrasing was slightly different. Now what we can do is you can start, when you kind of put the notes in a different order, we can start coming up with different melodic ideas. So one thing I really like is this sort of thing. So it's a pentatonic scale, but fundamentally I've made it into a 2-1-2 arpeggio. So you can have something like that. Which is a little bit of ear candy. It's almost that I'm doing something expected, and then resolving it to something that's expected. So it's like I'm grabbing attention. So these are all, so when you hear me playing there, it's like my style is sort of littered with these kind of more modern pentatonic ideas. Some of them I'll then try and play in quite a traditional way, like with blues feel, So there's some thoughts on the subject, right? So, Steve, does that help with your question? But in order to do these things, we do have to have some fundamental knowledge of harmony, and there's lots of different ways to think of it, and I think of them in tons of different ways, right? You can you'll hear lots of guitarists now talking about intervals. So people think when they're soloing, they'll think in intervals, which is really useful. You're also thinking in modes. So you've got your 7 different modes to learn, major modes, and then if you want to do melodic minor, you've got the same again there, which covers a lot of areas. I mean, there's more modes than that. There's, harmonic major modes. There's also you can make. Thing is, once you know the system of how the major modes are made, major/minor modes, you can apply that to anything. Any sort of set of 12-note system, or any sort of 12 notes, and then create that system. Is what I'm saying. So you do need to know those modes. And you do need to know them in various fingerings across the fretboard. And I always recommend, thinking of them in patterns. 3 notes per string, 2 notes per string. You might start one. The traditional minor shape. So you're just building awareness of all the possible fingerings and possibilities. We've got sequences. Oops. So you got groups of 6s, groups of 3s. Not that I don't really practice that stuff anymore. So great. So I'm glad that helps, Steve. So anybody who's on here, if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe and do give me a thumbs up. I do like lots of thumbs up, so it helps helps the algorithm. It's helped me build my audience. It gets more people watching my stuff, which means that I will achieve my watch hours of 3,000. And when it does that, it means people can then donate to me. They can go, "Oh, Tim, that was a good idea. You helped me. Here's $1." And that'd be lovely, isn't it? I don't need pain. I mean, I do this for the love. But now I just, I think it'd be a nice thing. Because it felt good, actually, when I got Twitch monetized and I got, like, all those donations. It was brilliant. I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is really good. It keeps you going, But, yeah. So, next question. Come on. Anybody else got anything to say? So these have been really good sort of questions, because it is difficult to work out sometimes what to do next, what are your next moves are, but the route to success is actually knowing what you're going to do, and I must admit, I mean, I play and I've created these conditions for myself. I mean, I've got myself into a scenario where I'm playing all the time and I have to various parts of the day with my sort of everyday work, I'm doing improvisational sessions, sometimes intensive interaction improvisation sessions, and you have to be on your game, you have to be on your skills. It really tests you out. So I'm sort of really practicing the skills and reviewing what I'm doing every day. And some days you just don't feel like there's anywhere to go. It's like, well, what am I going to do now? So sometimes I understand that it is difficult to see, what direction to go in, and a lot of it is fear of investing time. I think it's like, oh, well, if I invest my time doing this, will I use it? Will it be any good? Will I be able to do it? And there's no money, there's no time back money guarantee on this. You just have to try these experiments. But one thing I like to do is I mean, I've had things that I've done. I mean, I completely reinvented my technique and went into economy picking, and I had it sort of down and in my playing, not brilliantly, but like after 3-4 months, 6 months, it was dialed in, but I had to put the work in. How do you combine minor major modes with chords? Well, that's a good question. Well, if we think about it, I like teaching in the key of E minor. It's one of my favourite keys, actually. E minor, F sharp minor, G minor, A minor, C minor. C sharp minor is really good. I'll go for E minor because people are kind of used to probably that. So if we look at an E minor 7 chord here, it's almost half a pentatonic scale, isn't it? Because we've got all the notes down here and we've got a fifth. Okay. So with a minor 7 chord, we're only missing one note, and that's the fourth here, or which could be the 11, Well, that in. There, you got all the notes now. Almost. So that pentatonic scale is going to sound great over that chord because we're always hitting a chord tone. Let me just... Going to be a bit of a vaporwave thing, this. No, that's not what I want. Go back. That's it. Right, that's my drums. Bear with me. So, this is an E minor 9 chord. Like so. I'll just fix the note length. Right, 4 bars. Okay. So these are all these pentatonic scale notes are going to fit beautifully with that 9th chord. So we can start on different degrees of that chord, can't we? So for example, we can have the 5th. Gives us that sound if we start and end a phrase. Okay, let's try something on the root. The root's going to sound less tension. Quite boring, isn't it? Because you're going home straight away, so it's expected. There's no tension there for the listener. 3rd. Seventh. Seventh's got a lot of tension in it, wants to go somewhere. You can't stop there, you've got to... That's better, isn't it? Back to the root. So like that's a good sort of question phrase, and then we could answer by resolving on something that's more like the root. So the 4th has probably the most tension. It's that A note. We really need like the answer phrase for that. There we go. Okay. Don't forget soul, yeah. Anyway, I can kind of go on for a bit. So, you know, that's just practicing over like one drone chord. So yes, so starting a phrase from different intervals of the pentatonic scale can help. And that's just the same for the major scale. You know, if we do something in the major scale, G, thank you, Save Your Hearts, for the virtual hugs. Virtual hugs. Thank you. All right. Probably need another question. But I'll show you a cool trick in the meantime, whilst people are thinking about what to ask. So working in the minor, major would be a similar thing, but one thing we could do, you can either add a ninth in to make it a hexatonic scale, which would be the F sharp, into your pentatonic scale, or another way to think of it is we can play a pentatonic scale a fifth above the root. So in other words, we can use a B minor pentatonic scale when we're in E minor, which gives us that nice note, doesn't it? So a slightly different flavour. And we can combine the two. Right, so yeah, we're using B minor pentatonic scale. So the key, we're playing over an E minor 9 chord, E minor 9. We can use the E minor pentatonic scale, and we can use the B minor pentatonic scale. Okay, that's what we're doing. That's a nice little phrase. So that's E minor, B minor, E minor with the ninth, B minor pentatonic. It's all B minor. So, some ideas. This Kiesel costs more than my car. Yeah. There we go. However, Kiesels are very reasonably priced for what they are. For a custom shop guitar. Definitely an excellent purchase, without a doubt. I couldn't imagine my life without Kiesel rod. But anyway, anybody on here who's just kind of fallen on my channel, please do subscribe and give a thumbs up. So there's been some great conversations this morning just about what makes a good guitar teacher, how to expand your musical horizons, your improvisational horizons, from a position of kind of just being repetitive and not having many ideas and all that kind of thing, to how can we expand things, be less repetitive and do different things. Yep, dude is in the org. I'm looking for the org. Right. Oh, right. Do you find your forearm gets stuck on the arm contour, impeding your ability to cross the strings smoothly? What is your remedy, and what may I be doing wrong? Okay, good question. Got the remedy. I've got the cure. But first, I'll just pour myself a coffee. Because it's, it's work, but also a social event, this, for me, Right, here we go. Oh, your forearm. Hope you can see with my jacket on. Right, we are talking about the right hand, aren't we? Because this question's been asked before. Just you're asking it in a slightly different way. So let's just get this right. Oh, original gangster. Very good. Forearm gets stuck on the arm contour. You move the strings. What's your remedy? Right. Okay. So, one thing on previous McRocklin Hutch lives, when I was using the orange guitar, a painted body. Okay. I would, if you get a bit sweaty under the hot lights, which my lights were at the time, I would get a bit stuck. If there was any sort of movement, we get stuck. So whenever I play, like now, I've always got like a sleeve on the guitar for that kind of thing. Not that it matters now, because raw tone finishes, you don't get stuck to them. That's one tip. The other tip is, you're not going to be moving about that much. So what I recommend is, what I don't recommend is getting into this sort of thing. Like you'll see some players like this, and then the wrists moving across the strings. Well, the problem with that is each individual string that you come across, your picking motion is a different muscle memory. So to standardize the whole thing, if you keep your hand in like the one position, okay, the one angle, pretty much, obviously you're going to move it up and down a bit, we're just slightly moving across the strings by lowering the arm. See? I mean, you can hardly tell. It sounds drastic and like something you shouldn't be doing because it's your whole arm and that's not an efficient movement, but it is an efficient movement. See? So it's kind of there, so that's what I would do. I don't get into this. Get into... It's an exaggeration. Third string, shred. Fifth string, shred. First string, shred. That kind of thing, yeah? Oh, that was it. So, and then just getting back to the previous question there, like not having enough licks to play and things like that, and what do you do when you're bored? I mean, one of the things I did that really sort of helped me was actually starting to get into chromatic stuff, but trying to get it to make it fit in a rock way. So that's been quite a challenge and really sort of helped my playing as well. And then I start, because I'm such a nerd, I collect chromatic enclosures. I'm a chromatic enclosure spotter. That's actually I don't have a television. So this is what happens if you don't have a television. You end up being a chromatic enclosure spotter, and have a list of them. What are the scales or modes to play in 80s glam rock, rat style, or Dokken? Well, I suppose minor pentatonic and natural minor, and maybe a bit of Dorian. Probably. So George Lynch, I mean, I've never been a George Lynch fan. I've heard the music and stuff, and I remember the Nightmare on Elm Street video when I was a kid. Dream Warriors. Dorian's a good one. We've got it's a minor scale with a major 6, so it's a little bit less cynical than a natural minor. I mean, I tend to go for the natural minor, to be fair. Just because I end up in situations where I'm using that the most. But Dorian's cool because you get that you don't really get any dead notes in Dorian. It's all good. The avoid notes, it's like this major 6 now, which is great. So it can sound really nice and fusiony and or bluesy, or like, the Paul Gilbert, Mr. Big kind of thing, Stuff like that. That's like mixed in Dorian, isn't it? In a brutal way with a pentatonic. Phrygian's a good one. That Yingwi sound, and I think the good thing about the Phrygian is it's a nice contrast from anything really, from the natural minor or from anything you're doing going into a Phrygian. It gives you a complete and utterly, totally different scene change. It sound quite cool and soulful as well. Negative, positive pull. Yeah, contrast. Negative, positive pull. Yeah, so we're talking about tension and release. So very good. Save your hearts. Dorian makes people wonder. Yeah, thought and contemplation. Well, I mean, probably a lot of music probably makes you think that, but it's also down to the phrasing, isn't it? So if we leave something, a question, and leave it hanging there, then it's going to make the listener wonder, isn't it? Till we then answer it with something more conclusive. Right, Steve's going to bed. Time for me to hit the sack. I've got a big day of recording tomorrow. Brilliant, Steve. Well, good luck for the recording. Not that you'll need it, I'm sure you'll have it all in the bag. So enjoy your recording, and thank you for calling in and engaging so well in today's session. No, I really appreciate it. So that's brilliant. Anyway, as we're talking about guitar, anybody else want to know anything else? Because I'm thoroughly enjoying the guitar chat at the minute. I mean, we don't have to talk about guitars and shredding. We can talk about technology. or whatever you fancy, really. Life. But yeah, collecting chromatic enclosures. I love them. That's been a passion. I've got my favourite one at the minute. I've got two favourites. That one. It's great for minor pentatonic. Or there's a little like way I'll play the flat 5. That. That's a nice one as well. You good? There you see, double approach note. Ooh. How? Hold on, the chat's gone all... There we go. Question, how do you go into speed bursts without psyching yourself out and fumbling? A great question. So mentally visualizing yourself playing something in your practice, okay, that you're going to win. That's the first thing. So the mental thing. So what you got to remember in a game of music, Tube Stormer, all right, in a game of music, it talks about self 1 and self 2. Now, psyching yourself out, that's self 1. Self 1 saying, here's your solo, quick, go, you're going to mess it up. You know, it's that kind of thing. You're always messing this bit up. Like, if you play it, you're going to mess it up. Is there a different way you could play it? Oh, no, it's too late. You're going to have to play it now. And then you completely miss the point, right? This is all like the critical self, what we call self 1. At least Barry Green, Timothy Galloway in a game of music. And we want to be in self 2 where we're not really thinking about that. So there's the usual cliched ways that do work is like 5 minutes meditation, okay? Being aware that self 1's telling you that kind of nonsense and to ignore it, okay? Realize it's almost like when you're improvising, it's like meditation, isn't it? There are distracting thoughts that pop into your head, but you're also practicing the ability to allow those thoughts to be there and then just disappear, and then you're moving on to the next thing. So to do that, what you need to be doing as your anchor is the music. So it's easier than meditation from that perspective because you do have an anchor there, a cognitive anchor, which is the music that's being played. So we can always just listen into that music, and we can do things like direct listening. So when you listen and improvise into music, okay, you can focus in on just the snare drum or the rhythm or a part of the backing track or the chords or the bass, and you can play the different elements and improvise the different elements in the track, and it becomes a game. And before you know it, you're not having any distracting thoughts. However, you can have a set ways of starting, you know, solos. Like for me, I don't. Sometimes, like if I've got to go into like an alternate pick, there's like, what's the song? So I get this feeling it is very difficult to kind of throw off sometimes. Italian disco. You know, I've got like a run on there. Okay, so like, and then you know it's coming up and the music's going to stop, and then you've got to do this thing, right? That everybody knows. So how do you get it consistent? Well, for me, I just started off in a really positive way that is bulletproof, that I can't get it wrong, and I like to economy pick. So I haven't got that, you know, I've made the lick itself simpler. So it just becomes more consistent. Now, when you do that, when you just practice the first bit of something, and you get it completely down, you start building on your belief system that you are going to get it right, okay? And you also imagine yourself getting it right. So there's a couple of tips. So, okay, we've got some self one. Now, the raised fourth or and seventh in the minor scale. Sometimes, well, it might be in my chromatic stuff. I'm not intentionally playing that, and I've never really messed with the Hungarian scale, although it could be a thing. I do know melodic minor modes, but never really use them. 3 measures ahead. So planning like I wouldn't advise, thinking ahead in an improvisation solo, because you want to be in the moment. So anything to do with reflecting on the past and then reflecting on the future and predicting future outcomes, you're on a timeline and you're not you're not listening to the music, you're listening to your thoughts. So WC says, self one is my biggest enemy and the cause of most of my problems in playing. So there you go. But now you're aware of self one, so you're on the path to kind of removing it. To allow, I mean, self one isn't, it is important in certain areas. And actually, anybody who's done my coaching program here will know the training that they go through. So I do a lot of extensive training on how to deal with self one, how to use self one, okay, in reviewing your music, okay, using self one as the editor and as the critic, really good at that and useful, but it has to be put in a time and place, okay, to be able to do those reviews. And it does need a system of review. That's very important. And I do cover this in all my coaching, and these are the things that just make it absolutely totally solid as an artist. I have a whole infrastructure. It's a structure to the program around this thing called the automatic music making machine, which I've shown before on previous shows, broadcasts, I should say. And what that is about is allowing self one to modularize the creative process. So there are times that we can use self one. I like to have self one outside of the studio, so I'll review this in the car and I'll listen to what I'm playing, and I'll review different sections of this video and my performance talking and playing to people, and then I'll work out how I can improve, okay? And I have a system in order to doing that. So self one can have a role, but when I am sort of in the moment like I am now, talking to you guys, I'm trying to work off self two. That's the performance self. And it's the insightful self. And actually, all the things that happen in self two all come from a phase of analysis, which would be more self one, wouldn't it? That conscious learning that goes into the subconscious. And then that's the vehicle that's fueling self two, so to speak. So we do need self one. I know I beat it up quite a bit, but the reason I am is because we're talking a lot of times about being in the moment and about improvising, and not talking so much about the analytical side necessarily of music making. So on the coaching, I know it sounds like a plug, but I just haven't got time to impart all this knowledge on everybody, and then to be sure that you follow a system, and then make sure everybody gets it right. You have to be in a room with me for me to do that, and ideally on the Zoom call in one of my coaching groups. Well, you don't want to beat yourself up, Timothy. Trilogy Opus Sweet Yingwi, I remember that. Yeah, I love that album. Vinnie Paul, who's that? Vinnie Moore. Don't reflect on the measure past. Right. I like thinking about Warren Haynes saying, think about what you want to play and play the space between. I like that. So that's also a direct listening exercise that I'll use. So when I'm playing and improvising, sometimes what I'll do is I'll play a little game with myself where I'm listening to the decay of the notes. I'm in between the notes. So it automatically gets you putting in like space, doesn't it? See, that sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah, so immediately, you start thinking of like everything as a conversation, question and answer, and the space and the pause for thought and contemplation to happen between phrases. So brilliant. Warren Haynes, what a great approach. Is just providing that space to think. Just kick ass. Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, I like doing that. Echo what your brain initially tells you. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you can go into an improvisation and you think you haven't, like, there's not a tune there, or you DJ or whatever. But most of the time, I've got it in my head. Even if it's a fast leg, I can either hear the contour of it, the shape, and I can hear where it's going, or I can hear the melody. So I can hear all those notes, all 6 notes, of that hexatonic sort of sound. And I can hear that 6th, usually in a combination of a phrase, or as a passing note. Echo response after you call. Yeah, that's another thing. Now, I talked about that a couple of streams ago, might have been Monday. So there's a thing called I was watching a Larry Coryell video, and so he talked about mimicking. So you have question and answer, but then you take a phrase and then repeat it. It's like phrase change. Mimicking. Right, it's a lyrical from my own worst enemy. Fine. Cool. Checks. Better run. Note he's essentially never on the one rhythmically. Yeah, just kind of, I like to lurk around that one. Right. Known parts, unknown parts, unknown. I'm jamming right now. Let's play a tune in E minor. All right, well, I'll tell you what. For you, we'll do something. I'll make you back in track. So here we go. Here's your backing track. So it's a nice little ambient. That should get you going. I'll get some drums. The suspense. I'm over here now. echo in known parts. How's that? There you go. I'd hate to disappoint. Hope is that an okay jam track for you? All right. All right, yeah. So, Tube Stormer, what you're talking about there is latency. Now, I have a zero tolerance on latency with my plugins on my live set. So, basically, it's as low a latency as you can possibly get it, which is why I use Polychrome. So, Polychrome, all of their amps are like the lowest latency ever. There's no latency there practically. It's like 0.046. Or in other words, to be exact, it's 2 samples, so you're never going to feel that. I need my set to be under 7 milliseconds, and I don't feel any lag, really. When I start getting over that, I start feeling the lag. So all my EQs, all my plugins, pretty much, without exception, all have, by the manufacturer, 0 latency. So that's how I get round that. Otherwise, the latency would throw my timing, especially when I'm talking on a mic. If there's a bit of a delay on this mic, so I can hear what I'm saying through Ableton, because it's a bit weird, like having headphones on and then no mic, and then just hearing the internal voice and not being able to hear what you say. So, in order to be able to talk, I have to have 0 latency. So there's like literally no latency at all, and I'm streaming as well, which is good. Cool. Pause, start over again. Sorry, I can't. 80s Miami intensifies, absolutely. Very good. Floyd Rose solo, how very fitting. I love that, people are bringing the guitars to the streams and playing. It's brilliant. Vi manners. Vi was never a big influence. I mean, I only really liked the Flexible album and the David Lee Roth maybe, but I never actively went to learn. I mean, I did learn Call It Sleep, the solo off that, because it's just like my favourite guitar solo ever. Hello, Tanmay. Good to see you on here. Not opposed. That's cool. Nice jam, thank you. Run the pull. Still one of the best war sounds. That's very good. It's just, it's my QC95 Dunlop set to full, full killer mode. Everyone's on full. I'm glad you've subscribed and known parts. It's brilliant to have you on here. Thank you, and do like. Anybody else on here, please like the stream. These pickups, I'm using the Fishman McRocklin signature pickups, which are my favourite ones. Having said that, I've got my orange guitar has the classics, Fishman classics, which are also amazing, and I have moderns in the 7-string, which I do need to get out next stream and do some stuff with. I couldn't possibly give you a guitar. Sorry. But I'll give you the ability to earn lots of guitars. How about that? As I say, shameless plug-in. I am a music coach. I do run 2 music coaching groups. So if you're interested in making tons of music, like all the music yourself, drums, bass, guitar, and making your own music, and, if you're a guitarist, sprinkling your guitar on the top of it and doing that lots and lots of times with ease, then coaching is definitely for you. And do send me an email if you are interested in that, because I'm starting a new group January and another group in February, so it would be great to have some new people in there. Would be great. It's just a group of, each group's only 4 people in. There's only 4 people in it, and you have me as your coach every week for 2 hours, getting you to make music and reviewing your performance. And, you'll find through the exercise I take you through great insight into your abilities and how you can move yourself forward. It is one of the most powerful things. Yeah, they sound pretty awesome. It's all cool, bro. That's good. So, yeah, again, subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff. Really good. Now, I've enjoyed today's stream. It's been lovely. It's been great having all you wonderful people here to talk to. So, we will be. I got some great questions today regarding playing guitar, so I didn't actually get to some of the things I was going to get to. But next week's going to be busy for the streaming, because I really want to. I'll be live with Thomas on Saturday, so where McRocklin Hutch will be shredding to its fullest abilities on Saturday, and there's lots of cool stuff to look forward to there. Obviously, the Nunchuck plugin's out, so that's going to be getting used, I would imagine. And that's if we've got it in our sets. But if not, Monday will be that is an option to have a look at Nunchuck with me live, and I can show you all the features, and we can make a set guitar sounds together and just experiment and fiddle on and enjoy ourselves that way. Yeah, I think Tanmay, it's kind of building the channel, isn't it? Yeah, nunchucks after work. There was nunchucks. I think the trick is not to hit yourself over the head with them when practicing. But this isn't nunchucks. This is nunchucks, the guitar amp. I'm not going to be on here doing nunchucks. Can you imagine? Clonk. Ow. I'll not be doing that. No. It is an amazing guitar amplifier and many things by in software by Polychrome DSP. And I think that's about it. Oh, and then there's also the Fab Pro Q4 Fab Filter EQ as well, which I'm really I'm really interested in that because it has a mode which is a warm mode. So even though it's a digital EQ and a graphical interface, which is amazingly looks great, it also adds a little bit of warmth and saturation to your signal. So it might be something that I might put on all of my channels and take away my SSL and test that out. So I think that could be quite an interesting experiment. Yeah, so I'm thinking about getting Nunchuck out and doing some stuff on that, and we can mess about with some of the sounds. Build some high gain tones, build some clean tones, build some stuff, right? That's what we're going to do. So that's what I'm thinking about Monday. Right. You should always have your guitar plugged in, Tanmate, ready for action. And you should have your headphones in as well. So you'll be firing on all cylinders these days. So you need both. Because I'll get the nunchuck thing, I'll play something, somebody go, oh, that's really good, and then you go, oh, I wish I had my guitar. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's still warm, yeah. You know, I've still got another cup here, you know. You know. I mean, I love headphones anyway. I mean, I never use my monitors unless I'm just jamming and having a bit of fun in here. I mean, they're really good, the Genelecs. But I've got the Stephen Slate headphones, which I've got in my head. They don't look as good as the Bose headphones that I used to wear. These are a bit bigger, but and I look like Doctor Who Cyberman wearing them. But they sound incredibly good and they're flat, and I do like really good mixes on these. Sorry, what part of the UK I am in? The northeast, a city called Newcastle upon Tyne. Audio Technica. Well, they're going to be good, aren't they? I've heard of them. They're a make. It'll do. As long as you're used to them, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're used to your headphones, it's cool. You can even get headphone correction software, which I used to use. Reminder to everyone interested like myself in Polychrome DSP is having a winter sale. There we go, winter sale. Near Sutton. It's a little bit away from me. Very good. It's just nice to relax, to be fair. Having said that, you know, I've got a really busy day today. In fact, I can think, right, I'll just think of like all the opportunities for me to play guitar today is quite a lot. So I can think of like after here, get into work, I've got at least an hour and a half in the morning, and I've got another hour in the afternoon. So that's not too bad. That's 2.5 hours, potentially 3, just jamming and doing stuff. Rest of it will be on a computer writing music. And then I'm out tonight. which would be fun. No, I'm not going for a walk this morning. I've got a meeting with Google. No, I have. I've got a meeting with Google at 8 o'clock, so I'm not going to get out for my walk. I'm going to have this and then prepare for the meeting. I've also got to think, because I'm going out with work colleagues tonight, I'm going to have to think what to wear. I can't just turn up like this, kind of. I think my hair's all right. Looks all right today. So, yeah. Lots of things to look forward to. Anyway, I'm going to head off now. And when I find that it wouldn't fit. If I did, like, the arms would be up here on me, wouldn't they? And I don't think I'd even be able to fit a leg into his trousers. So that might be hard. All right, then. I'll see you guys Saturday and then Monday. All right, take care and bye for now.